Ethiopia urgently needs emergency food aid for 6.2 million people. The country is suffering from the impact of erratic rains.
Yeah, Ethiopia has been hit by the food crisis affecting a large part of East Africa. Altogether, 23 million people are threatened, twice as many as the last serious crisis back in 2006.
7 countries are affected, with half of those threatened living in Ethiopia. The UN's World Food Programme is already facing a shortfall of more than $85 million worth of food for Ethiopia to the end of this year.
It is 25 years since the famine that killed around 1 million Ethiopians. Mike Wooldridge reports now from Mekelle.
Food and income for a family wilting in the southern Ethiopian sun. It's in this part of the country that Ethiopia is currently experiencing the worst impact of a looming regional food crisis. Yangago Bunja says his maize crop was completely lost. They have nothing. And when he went away to do daily labouring to pay for food, he worried about his 8 children.
The kids are losing weight. They are really in a big problem. Then they have to borrow the food from somebody and, to repay it.
This is the damage the changing climate's done, not just to one Ethiopian farmer's crops, but to many. And the droughts are becoming longer and more frequent, and the rains increasingly erratic.
Children who become malnourished, like 12-month-old Bezabi Baguda, no longer go to the feeding centres of the past. These mothers have been treating their sons at home with a special high-calorie food given to them at the local health post.
We have a small plot and so produce a small crop, and it's not enough for the family.
But now there's a question over whether fewer children or more will slip through the net if there's less close monitoring of their condition. Most immediately critical, the shortfall at the UN's Food Aid Agency in meeting Ethiopia's needs.
Our food situation actually is very dire, because currently we really are struggling. I mean, between now and the end of the year, we require a total of 120,000 metric tons of food.
So overwhelming was the tide of exhausted and starving people who trekked into the highland town of Korum in October 1984, so inadequate the relief food for them, until the unprecedented aid operation got underway, that many died of hunger or disease. It was the same fate for many who came to the town of Mekelle to the north, after finally giving up the struggle to see out one failed harvest after another. But Birhan Woldu, too at the time, thanks Irish sisters in Mekelle for her survival after coming close to death and losing members of her family.
Birhan.
In 2005, her appearance at the Live 8 concert in London symbolised hope after tragedy. Today she believes new strategies can help Ethiopia consign full-scale famine to the past.
We are needing education and sharing of experience from the others, how to protect the drought and how to control before it happens. We can control by planting and make a bound to control the water.
But in this northern rural district, we found this livestock farmer now facing the prospect that he'll have to start selling his cattle as pasture and water start drying up. And only a government food for work scheme has kept these farmers going for now, as their crops failed. The big risk is that Ethiopia's efforts to make its people less vulnerable to hunger are overshadowed by the emerging crisis today. Mike Wooldridge, BBC News, Northern Ethiopia.
Let's take a closer look at how this crisis is affecting the most vulnerable, the region's children. Joining us from central London is David Bull, the UNICEF Executive Director. Thank you very much for joining us. Just how bad is it for children in the Horn of Africa at the moment?
We're deeply concerned about the situation. We have 15 million children facing hunger and drought across 6 countries in the Horn and East Africa, including Ethiopia and Kenya and Uganda, Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea. And we estimate that within this year there will be 500,000 children facing life-threatening, severe acute malnutrition. We can help them, but our funding is less than half, in fact only 35% of what we need.
Is there a concern also about, it's not just hunger, but disease, waterborne diseases, cholera?
Cholera is already there in some of the countries. Strangely, because of the El Nino effect combined with the impacts of climate change, we are expecting, subsequent to the drought, actually flooding, which could make the food situation worse by washing away crops that are there and causing waterborne diseases. So the situation is very worrying, and it's not going to be over immediately.
The bulk of the money that you need, David, will it go towards food aid?
We need £115 million for the 6 countries. We only have a third of that at the moment. It goes to a very comprehensive response, but the most important thing is emergency therapeutic nutrition for children suffering from severe acute malnutrition, and there are 500,000 of those who need that help.
Is there a danger that you're ringing the bell once, that you're flagging this up, and actually there's going to be aid apathy that follows?
We know that everyone's talking about what happened 25 years ago. The situation now is radically different. There are procedures and systems and